All right, let's talk about a huge shift that's happening right now with one of the most popular AI tools out there. For the longest time, ChatGPT has been completely ad-free, right? Well, that's all about to change. So let's dive in and break down exactly what's going on.
So, the big question on everyone's mind, and probably yours too, is this. Are we really about to start seeing ads popping up in our ChatGPT conversations? Well, the short answer is yeah. And for some people, it's actually already started.
That's right, the time of a totally ad-free ChatGPT is officially coming to an end. Honestly, this is a pretty big moment for generative AI as a whole. So let's get into the specifics of what's happening. So, the main takeaway here is that this is not a drill. This isn't just some rumor floating around the internet anymore. OpenAI has officially confirmed it. They've started testing advertisements inside ChatGPT. It's a real live experiment, and it's happening as we speak. Okay, so who exactly is going to see these ads? Well, OpenAI says the test is initially focused on users in the United States who are on the free plan. It's also rolling out to people on their new, cheaper plan called ChatGPT Go, which runs about $8 a month. But here's the key thing. If you're a paying Plus or Pro subscriber, you're in the clear for now. This test doesn't apply to those higher-priced plans.
This, of course, brings up the million-dollar question, why is this happening now? And as you've probably guessed, the answer really comes down to the numbers.
And just look at this number. It's huge. ChatGPT has something like 800 million weekly active users. I mean, that is just a staggering audience, one of the biggest on the entire internet. But there's a catch. Because even with that insane 800 million user base, only about 5% of them are actually paying for a subscription. Think about that. That means a whopping 95% of all those users are on the free plan. They're racking up massive server costs for OpenAI without bringing in any direct cash. So, for OpenAI, advertising is the pretty clear answer to that problem. The whole goal is to start making some money from that huge majority of free users. That revenue will help cover the absolutely massive costs of running the servers and, ultimately make sure that the free version of ChatGPT can stick around for everyone. All right, so let's get down to brass tacks. What will these ads actually look like when you're in the middle of a conversation? Well, OpenAI has been pretty straightforward about how they're approaching this. And here you can see a couple of early examples of what they're testing. The ads show up in their own separate little box right below ChatGPT's answer. And you'll notice they're very clearly marked as sponsored, so you know it's not part of the AI's response. They can have images, a direct link. It feels a lot like an ad you'd see on a search engine results page. Now, to try and ease some of our concerns, OpenAI has laid out a few ground rules. First, they promise the ads will never, ever influence the AI's actual answers. They also say your personal chat data is not going to be shared with advertisers. And importantly, you get some control. You can dismiss ads you don't like and even turn off personalization. They're also making sure to keep ads away from sensitive topics like health or politics. So how are these ads even targeted? Well, the main idea is what they're calling conversation contextual. It's actually pretty simple. The ads are just related to whatever you're talking about in that moment. So, if you're asking for recipes for dinner, you might get an ad for a grocery delivery service. If you're asking about vacation spots, you might see an ad for flights. Makes sense, right? Now, this isn't just a big deal for us as users. You have to realize this is a huge, huge development for the advertising industry. It's creating a brand new and, frankly, a potentially super powerful new way for marketers to reach people. And from the early reports we're seeing, advertising on ChatGPT is not going to be cheap. The rumored CPM, that's just the cost for 1,000 people to see an ad, is sitting around $60. Now, to put that into perspective, that is way higher than what advertisers are used to paying on most social media platforms. And that high price tag is almost certainly on purpose. It's all about positioning ChatGPT as a place for high-intent advertising. Just think about it for a second. When you're on social media, you're just kind of passively scrolling, right? But when you go to ChatGPT, you are actively looking for an answer, for a solution to a problem. That makes it a lot more like a Google search ad, where you're already in the mindset to make a decision. And this potential is what has some industry watchers making some really bold predictions. One analyst basically summed it up by saying, look, if OpenAI can pull this off, ChatGPT could become one of the most important advertising channels of the entire decade. So, yeah, this is a huge moment. But we have to remember, this is also just the very beginning. So what does the future hold? And what should we really be keeping an eye on as this whole experiment moves forward? Well, So far, the reactions from users are kind of mixed. You've got some folks on that new $8 Go plan who are pretty annoyed that they're paying money and still seeing ads. Then there are others who are more broadly concerned that just having ads on the page could make people trust the AI's answers a little less. And it's also worth pointing out, most people haven't seen any ads at all yet, which really suggests that OpenAI is taking this rollout very, very slowly. And that's really the most important thing to remember here. We are in the super early days of this whole thing. OpenAI is testing everything right now. The look of the ads, the pricing for advertisers, how they measure if an ad is even working. What we're seeing today could look completely different 6 months or a year from now. And all of this really leaves us with the big open question for the future. As AI gets woven deeper and deeper into our daily lives, are these kinds of ads going to be a genuinely useful guide that connects us with what we need right when we need it? Or are they just going to be another annoying distraction? That's the tightrope OpenAI is trying to walk, and you can bet we'll all be watching to see if they can actually pull it off.